My name is Steve Fugate. I'm the Executive Director of the Annual Renewable Energy Association. And this is our annual energy fair, our exposition that we put on. We have exhibitors here who are exhibiting technologies, and we also have classrooms where we're giving workshops. So we'll be giving probably 20 workshops today upstairs. But what I would like to do is talk to some of our vendors, and they can explain a little bit about what they do and their experience in renewable energy. Because we've entered a new era of energy where we're in an age of extreme energy, where we're going to extreme measures to procure, especially liquid petroleum. And with oil at $110 a barrel, we're going to need to get much more thoughtful and progressive about the technologies, the techniques that we're employing to reduce our consumption and switch off of the fuels that we've been using historically, because they're going to be becoming too expensive. Here we have Mike Helfman from Bubbling Spring Solar, and they're what I would consider a local manufacturer. They're within a couple hundred miles. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're in Menominee, Wisconsin.
Okay, so they're just up the road.
Just up the road, 5 hours.
5 hours, but that beats halfway around the world, something coming from China.
Does. Yes.
So we recently completed the Iowa Renewable Energy Training Center up in Hiawatha, and Mike was kind enough to donate one of his flat panel collectors. As a nonprofit organization, we rely on technology providers to help us to educate people about what's available in the market. How long have you been in business, Mike?
6+ years now. For us, it's kind of a badge of honor to be able to help you guys out and have our panels used in your training sessions. And so I think it's a win-win situation, which is always good.
Well, definitely, and what we're doing on the training center is we have flat panel collectors and also evacuated tubes, so the two different technologies. They were nice enough to supply us with a cutaway version that allows us to show people it's not just a magical black box, but exactly what's inside it, how it works. And here we have one of the new modular pumping systems that really simplify installation. Can you tell us a little bit about it, Mike?
This is sort of the trend in the industry, I think. We have here the circulation pumps, the heat exchanger, charge and fill ports, air purge, isolation valves, sediment screen, all sort of prepackaged into a nice looking appliance, if you will. We're hoping that this will help sort of improve the image of solar thermal.
Because oftentimes when people think of renewable energy, they think of a wind turbine or photovoltaic panels, but solar thermal is really the best bang for the buck for most people, especially if they have a good solar window. The payback on a solar thermal system can be half that of a PV system, or even less if they get into space heating.
Almost all the systems provide domestic hot water that we see go in, and maybe roughly half of them are larger systems that are also designed to provide space heating. It's tough to convince people to spend money that it seems like it's an optional thing or additional expense. So,
are we in good times? Is it tough? How are we doing? Are we doing enough right now in this country? Is your business up or down?
You're asking easy questions. Business is sort of flat. It has been for the last several years. Solar thermal is sort of the ugly stepchild to a lot of the other flashier renewable energy options. Despite the fact that it's when it's heat that you need, solar thermal is by far the best way to produce it. But yeah, where are we headed? I don't know. It seems like we have two options. One is to continue the way we're going and, crash and burn before we start to make changes, or be smart about it, and start investing now in what I think most of us agree is an inevitability. We need to put a lot more energy into generating our own power and our own fuel, and think that's the future.
I would like to introduce Don Otto. Do you see people's interest in efficient home design and building in comfort and energy efficiency? Are you seeing an increase in that, or?
Definitely an increase, especially in this tough economy. People are still interested in building. More and more people are realizing that global warming does have an effect, that man-made pollution is having a cause, is at least part of a cause of the global warming, and there is something that we can do about it. People still want a place to live. They're getting dissatisfied with the inefficient homes that they've been living in, and they're looking forward to something better.
Exactly. Well, every dollar's a vote. So if you buy a spec home that they've just pooped out a dozen of them, you get what you got.
Exactly.
And if people are voting for efficiency with their dollars,
Certainly.
and then we'll start to see the market shift.
Certainly.
Exactly.
I like to focus on the bones of a house, something that will last for the life of the structure, regardless of what you do for the decoration on the inside. You can put crown molding, you can put fancy cabinets, you can put beautiful countertops and stained glass and all of that, but the bones of the house will still be the same. If you start out with an expensive home that has all of the frills but a lousy envelope, it'll still be a lousy home no matter what you do to it.
I would like to introduce Jeff Benz. Jeff Benz runs the Solar Consultants out of Des Moines. But Jeff is what I would consider a seasoned veteran in the industry. But he's also one of our instructors. He teaches our classes, Solar Thermal 101, all the way up through installation. So he's one of the people that's actually facilitating the kind of changes we're talking about. You also manage a plumbing supply house, correct?
The heating department for a commercial plumbing wholesaler in Des Moines.
Okay.
And our focus is hydronics. Radiant floor heating is our main thing that we work with day in and day out. High efficient boilers, and then of course when we can include solar in the mix, we help people understand how that can be accomplished. And the other things that we can do with that system would be heating their domestic water year-round, spa heating or lap pool.
So you're both commercial and residential. You have
Yes.
one foot in both worlds.
Yes.
And which would you say is the most active right now? Is the residential side a little hotter, or are you seeing a lot of businesses that are becoming more considering alternative forms of energy?
What our hope is if the tax credit bill passes, then I think we'll see a upshot in commercial. My thought would be like nursing homes, fire stations, places like that have a steady domestic hot water load every day. Those would be perfect places to start using solar for domestic hot water. Radiant floor heat is mainly commercial that we work with. So that market in residential is, except for high-end homes, construction is pretty flat right now. We have several high-end homes that are doing all radiant floor heat. But as far as solar goes, solar thermal for me right now has been residential. So you're right, I do have my foot in both doors.
Well, I'm looking at this flooring system over here, and I live in an old home. Can that be retrofitted? Which of these two, which would you, for a 100-year-old home, is it better to lay it on top or to try to build it from down below?
The system that goes up underneath the subfloor is less cost, and if the ceiling below this floor is open, then this would be probably the best system to put in. So because of the cost, it's a little more labor intensive because you have to drill holes in the ends of the floor joist and fasten all the plates up. But for most people, that's the best way to do it. If you have an older home, you might have old hardwood flooring that you want to preserve, and so you don't disturb the finished floor with this system. Now, if you have an old, like a basement that you want to add heat in, the raw panel product over here on the left, that's the best way to do that, as this goes on top of an existing floor. It's easy to install because they have all the product, the end plates, The end pieces, the straight plates are 6 foot long, and the filler strips are pre-made. It uses a 3H tubing, but it's more money, but it's a higher performance. So with many of these products that we work with, the more output you can get, usually you can pay a little more money because there's more material there to get the heat out of the hot water.
Well, now I know where to go. Thank you very much.
Okay, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. I'd like to introduce John Root. John Root's also one of the people who's been in this game for decades now. So he's one of those grizzled veterans that we like to hold up. You can see John has a whole slew of really interesting products here, from LED lamps, which we love LED, even more efficient than compact fluorescents. It's kind of neat to see them all up against each other, what kind of light they throw. A particularly interesting product is, this isn't an Enphase, but it's a microinverter.
It's an in-phase.
Okay. So they would be able to attach this to the back of a PV panel, and rather than a giant 200-pound inverter, this actually changes the DC produced by a photovoltaic panel to alternating current, which can be used in a home. And John, we're trying to get a feel for where the industry is right now.
We haven't experienced growth like this since the early 80s when we first got into the business. So I'm real hopeful. Most of this really started when the tax credits were reinstituted, and then here in Iowa, Alliant Energy is offering rebates, and it looks like maybe the state will be as well. So now we're in a position to have the kind of growth that some of the states around us are having. Really what you're selling is an annuity. It's something that produces money over time, and without the tax incentives, the economics doesn't work out right. Right now it's excellent for businesses. And hopefully with some utility incentives and state incentives, it will be as economical for residential.
We hope so too. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce Jim Murphy here from Metal Monsters. And one of the things about renewable energy is if people are going to be putting a 20, 30, 50-year panel on their roof or solar thermal panels, to put it on a temporary roofing system like asphalt shingles is very problematic. To have to remove the whole system to redo your roof doesn't make any sense. So one of the things that we're particularly interested in is decreasing the total cost of that system over the long term. And a metal roofing surface would seem to be an excellent way to do that because it will last virtually forever. Are you seeing a lot more interest in steel roofing?
Yeah, absolutely. The permanent roof systems are coming as the lower life cycles of an asphalt shingle goes 7 to 10 years. So people are wanting sustainability out of their roof systems. When you're putting on a renewable energy source like a solar panel, you have solar incentives from the federal government, 30%. This is a building integrated system, so that those tax credits are also with the full roof system as well. So you're getting 30% off, rebate off of not just the photovoltaic system, but the standing seam roof system as well.
Does the steel come with the PV already attached to it?
Yep, we get that directly from McElroy Metal. It does have the photovoltaic panel attached to it, and the reason is they're able to attach that in a controlled environment without the dirt, dust, and such on there, so we can be assured that that's going to stand up to the elements long term.
And I see we have a product here that actually looks like a shingle.
Yeah, this one's actually a tile. It's a stone-coated tile. This goes on a batten counterbatten system. We can use photovoltaics, a different type. It's with a clip system. This product here is a lifetime warranty product. It's a 50 years, 100% on all your labor and materials. When it's on that board and batten system, every color is an Energy Star rated color type product. You can look at energy efficiency reduction of 35 to 45%.
I'd like to introduce Richard Orweck here, and Richard's been a very, very, very ardent supporter of the Iowa Renewable Energy Association. And
From Michigan.
He's from Michigan, so this is a Michigan-made product. And in Michigan, we have a terrible economy. Michigan's really been thrown into the dumpster, and they've built an ingot factory. They're really producing the whole thing. They're not just putting together parts, but they're actually building these in Michigan. And this is what we used on our training center. And Richard was kind enough to hand deliver those panels and help get them up. And Richard, we're trying to get a sense of the state of the industry. And
tremendous growth. It's hard to say what's going to happen in 2011, but in the last 3 years, we've seen a 30% reduction in photovoltaics. The dreams of the 1970s, I got my first module in 1980, ARCO, which began in 1979 in California. And the prices have fallen on this and will continue to decline. We've seen the pricing come down to being affordable. And Iowa has a proposal coming from the senator from Iowa, State Senator Balcom, who I got to talk to on Friday for the bright shining future proposal for 300 megawatts. Iowa is the opposite of Michigan. You have a budget surplus in Iowa. And you have an energy exporting state in Iowa. Iowa's a real sleeper. Iowa exports food. Food is energy. Iowa produces stupendous amounts of wind energy and was a world leader in wind energy production and biofuels, except for ethanol, which is not a good idea because it's a loss of energy. But biofuels and wind, and one of the funniest things in coming here Friday was hearing that there's not enough sunlight in Iowa. And it's really hilarious that corn and soybeans don't grow off wind turbines. And Iowa, as an energy exporting state, has an opportunity with solar, particularly with its impoverished sister state, Michigan, which makes things and still makes things. We're not out yet. So we have a wonderful opportunity where Michigan, which is a very occluded state, particularly where I am on the west side, we have good summer sunlight for peak loading using solar. But Iowa has a tremendous solar resource, about twice that of Germany, the world leader. So in Iowa, if you want to become even wealthier than you are now, keep doing what you're doing and go ahead with this ball comp bill. And finally, after 20 years of talking about it, integrate solar. And Michigan would love to sell you the modules so we can generate some income and you become even wealthier, because any place, province, state, region, country, any area, a state of Iowa, that continues to export energy or produce more in Iowa means you will generate more wealth. Michigan, for example, is currently bringing in over 90% of its energy in coal, particularly from southern Illinois and particularly from Wyoming, the Platte River Basin. Michigan imports, and nobody cared when we were the motor capital of the world. So Michigan is the fourth lowest in the country in energy produced in the state. Billions of dollars are spent in Michigan. So you look at the contrast, it's a very odd mixture between Iowa, an energy exporting state, and by that I include food, because food is energy. So Michigan would like to manufacture modules and get the 300 megawatts into Iowa and not from China, because you need to import your collectors and produce more wealth. The more energy you make in Iowa, the less you buy, the wealthier you become, because energy is going to be the true measurement of wealth.
Okay, so Brandon, we're trying to get a sense of the state of the industry. Are you seeing progress? Are we slipping? Are we doing enough to incentivize renewable energy? How do you see our state as progressing?
What I think the state needs, and we all need as far as is education. It really comes down to that, and the people that are curious about solar thermal, how it works and why, find that they aren't really having the resources that they need, like iRenew having the classes that they do at a reasonable price, and having people that are quality instructors, quality materials, to educate people that are interested, and those people in turn go out and talk to their friends and families, and just let them know that this isn't something that's scary or weird, or it's got something for everybody. You want to see your investment. You can actually look outside and see, there's my investment. This is an investment that you can use. It pays for itself, and it's about as sure as the price of energy increasing in price.
I'm betting on the sun.
Yes, the sun is still free. It's not taxed yet. Neither is the wind. So I've been in the solar thermal industry for 30 years now. Wow. And it's had some ups and downs, and I think one of the things that really has made it viable is the educational process. Hard work from people like yourself that are plugging away, putting on shows, training people, educating them, getting the word out, maintaining the web pages. Just doing a lot of the footwork is really what it comes down to, and letting people know that it's not something that they're going to have to redo their entire life for. It's an effortless application. You don't have to watch it every day. You can see it, but you don't have to watch it.
So we're trying to get a sense of the state of renewables. Do you see a big difference between Iowa and California? Alaska's obviously a completely different situation, but are you sensing a lot of difference in the momentum of the industry?
Not yet, partly because of the shale gas, apparently at very low cost, although we don't know what the total environmental impact is. A fellow named Howarth from Cornell has just published a paper about his concern that the fugitive methane emissions from fracking gas, as we do now in the Marcellus and other shale formations, may release so much methane, which is 23 times as potent as carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas, that generating electricity from gas produced from fracking shale may be more damaging for climate change, global warming, than generating the same amount of electric energy with coal.
Mm-hmm. Let alone the fact that what they're pumping down to fracture that geological structure can be horribly toxic. Any idea on what it costs to clean up an aquifer?
No, I know it sounds real expensive, doesn't it? It's one of those external costs that we're not accustomed to paying because we don't. Mm-hmm. Nowhere do we really pay those external costs. But you asked about Alaska. Because energy is so expensive in Alaska, a lot of it is, all of the communities, the small communities, the villages generate their electricity from diesel fuel, which they have to bring in. Every community is an energy island. There is no grid in the state of Alaska within our communities or connecting us to the continental grid. So we're all energy islands. It's so expensive to generate electricity there with imported diesel oil, typically 50 cents to $1 a kilowatt hour, that we can afford to do things there with renewables that wouldn't be market competitive in Iowa, for example. So we may be able to pioneer things there, although it's a more expensive place to do business, that if they succeed there, then may be economically attractive when market conditions change here.
I'd like to introduce Richard Taylor here, and Richard's brought this terribly sexy new wind turbine here. I love the looks of it. Can you tell us a little bit about it, Richard?
This is an 8 kilowatt design, and this is our constant speed. So that this one is designed for more class 3, class 4, or class 5 type winds. We also have a similar model, which is an 8 kilowatt configuration, which is a V43, and that one has a continuously variable transmission system. And the benefit of that is that you're actually going to be able to use it in class 2 and class 3 winds. So if you take a look at Iowa, particularly for instance in the eastern part of Iowa where you've got lower wind regimes, now you have the effective availability of having a turbine which operates efficiently.
Well, this is beautiful. Is this a new design?
This is a new design. We actually started designing this in 2007, and it's taken us 3 years to come out with the right design. One of the things that we did was we wanted to make sure that as we went through the process that we took our time to take out a lot of the complexity. One of the things that you'll see in the design are probably 70% of the components are standard. So you delete a lot of the complexity. The other 30% are all custom designed for our controller. We manufacture it and assemble it in Austin, Texas, and all of our supply chain base is within 200 miles of Austin.
That's revolutionary. So this is an American-made product.
It's an American-made product.
So this is green jobs in manufacturing in action.
You know, that's kind of interesting because, you know, you would think that, you know, our company is small. We're not really that small, but we're small. But then when you look at the supply chain, we outsource the majority of the components. All of our boards, we do the design of the boards, but the boards are outsourced, the cabinets are outsourced, the towers are spec'd by us, but they're manufactured by other people. So you're actually creating a lot of jobs and infrastructure that goes into the actual design and the final product.
So a much bigger footprint. It's not just the people working at your facility, it's all of your suppliers, and it's not just the turbines, it's the infrastructure to put that in, it's the towers. So
Right.
I'm guessing for each job in your factory, there's probably 3 or 4 downwind of it, so to speak.
I would say so. You know, actually, one of our tower manufacturers is in Iowa.
John, what are you doing? Are you installing systems? You build them, you design them? What is it that you do?
We do all of the above. We design, sell, install, service.
We're trying to get a sense of the state of the industry. Are you seeing an increase in interest? Are people just nibbling at the bait, or are you getting people biting?
There's a lot of interest, a lot more interest, but still waiting on a lot of bites. You know, a lot of nibbles, a lot of information.
What's it going to take to get Iowa really moving forward? Is it incentives? Is it you hiring 4 more people? What's going to get us moving?
Me hiring 4 more people, that's going to take a lot of education on the consumer's part. And the state, you know, state doesn't have any incentives to talk about, so that would be a big help.
And right now there is a piece of legislation in front of the Iowa legislature that will give a 30% rebate. And do you see that as being essential, critical, doesn't matter?
That legislation would be a big boon to the industry. That would make a huge difference.
Excellent. And RJ, you're not just a contractor. You've been coming here to the expo for many, many years. You have one of the fancier electric vehicles I've ever seen. And you've also recently joined the board of the Iowa Renewable Energy Association. What prompted you to give up your precious time to move this industry forward?
All these things that you're talking about, it's like, okay, alternative energies. It's a thing that's, a lot of people say this is time of the future. No, it's time now. It's present. We need to start doing this now because it's going to take us time to get that far. I'm working with iRenew. To me, being on the board is a privilege. So they can use some skills that I have had for the last 20 years of running a business that hopefully that I can make this organization more successful in getting our point across to people of what's going on with renewable energies and whatnot.
Well, we really appreciate your time and expertise. You also have a really excellent display here. And I see you've got some evacuated tubes here. Is that your favorite technology? Why are you showing us this stuff?
I like the evacuated tube systems because we're in the state of Iowa. It's cold in the wintertime, and we found that they're a lot more efficient in the wintertime, and that's where we need them the most. This is just a demo unit. I mean, the roof mount systems is we like that because it functions very well. We've had quite a few systems we put on with that. We really like it because it's maintenance free, and we don't have to deal with leaks and things like that.
It takes people willing to just hammer it out and getting it done, people that aren't just going to talk about it. We're not going to form a committee, but are actually going to put boots on the roof is really important, and we really appreciate you being here.
Hey, that's, to me, what I call it's called part of living on the edge.
We're in the business of helping people. We don't sell anything. We simply provide education, information. We're nonpartisan. We're non-denominational. We're agnostic. All these technologies are wonderful, and we would like to help people assess what role it can play in their lives, how it can fit into their budget, and how it can save them a lot of money in the long run, how we can improve Iowa's energy efficiency, our our energy balance, we can really make great progress. Education's the first part, and this is the place to get it. So thank you for joining us here today, and we look forward to helping you become educated about these things.